God is not distant. He is Emmanuel, God with us. He is no stranger. He has a face, the face of Jesus. The Christian faith can never be separated from the soil of sacred events, from the choice made by God, who wanted to speak to us, to become man, to die and rise again, in a particular place and at a particular time. All the great works of art, the cathedrals, the Gothic cathedrals and the splendid Baroque churches, are a luminous sign of God, and thus are truly a manifestation, an epiphany of God. The family unit is fundamental for the educational process and for the development both of individuals and states. Hence there is a need for policies which promote the family and aid social cohesion and dialogue. We are moving toward a dictatorship of relativism which does not recognize anything as for certain and which has as its highest goal one's own ego and one's own desires. Not all moral issues have the same moral weight as abortion and euthanasia. There may be legitimate diversity of opinion even among Catholics about waging war and applying the death penalty, but not with regard to abortion and euthanasia. There are those who argue that the public celebration of festivals such as Christmas should be discouraged, in the questionable belief that it might somehow offend those of other religions or none. To me, it really seems visible today that ethics is not something exterior to the economy, which, as technical matter, could function on its own. Rather, ethics is an interior principle of the economy itself, which cannot function if it does not take account of the human values of solidarity and reciprocal responsibility. Liturgy, in truth, is an event by means of which we let ourselves be introduced into the expansive faith and prayer of the Church. This is the reason why the early Christians prayed facing east, in the direction of the rising sun, the symbol of the returning Christ. Today we have to learn all over again that love for the sinner and love for the person who has been harmed are correctly balanced if I punish the sinner in the form that is possible and appropriate. Prudence does not mean failing to accept responsibilities and postponing decisions. It means being committed to making joint decisions after pondering responsibly the road to be taken. I would say that normally it is the creative minorities that determine the future, and in this sense, the Catholic Church must understand itself as a creative minority that has a heritage of values that are not things of the past, but a very living and relevant reality. Art is elemental. Reason alone as it's expressed in the sciences can't be man's complete answer to reality, and it can't express everything that man can, wants to, and has to express. I think God built this into man. Art along with science is the highest gift God has given him. Mercy is what moves us toward God, while justice makes us tremble in his sight. It is very important for a priest, in the parish itself, to see how people trust in him and to experience, in addition to their trust, also their generosity in pardoning his weaknesses. On the one hand, faith is a profoundly personal contact with God, which touches me in my innermost being and places me in front of the living God in absolute immediacy in such a way that I can speak with him, love him, and enter into communion with him. If it is true that the great missionaries of the 16th century were convinced that one who was not baptized was lost, and that explains their missionary commitment in the Catholic Church after the Second Vatican Council, that conviction was definitely abandoned. Our earth is talking to us, and we must listen to it and decipher its message if we want to survive. God of peace, bring your peace to our violent world. Peace in the hearts of all men and women, and peace among the nations of the earth. Today, I, too, wish to reaffirm that I intend to continue on the path toward improved relations and friendship with the Jewish people, following the decisive lead given by John Paul II. The Church is not self-made. It was created by God and is continuously formed by Him. This finds expression in the sacraments, above all in that of baptism. I enter into the Church not by a bureaucratic act, but with the help of this sacrament. Human rights, of course, must include the right to religious freedom, understood as the expression of a dimension that is at once individual and communitarian, a vision that brings out the unity of the person while clearly distinguishing between the dimension of the citizen and that of the believer. Dear brothers and sisters, after the great Pope John Paul II, the cardinals have elected me, a simple, humble worker in the vineyard of the Lord. Down through the centuries, the Czech Republic, the territory of the Czech Republic, has been a place of cultural exchange. At any rate, we can see that they are given into our care, that we cannot just do whatever we want with them. Animals, too, are God's creatures. Having a clear faith, based on the creed of the Church, is often labeled today as fundamentalism. Whereas relativism, which is letting oneself be tossed and swept along by every wind of teaching, look like the only attitude acceptable to today's standards. If we look to the saints, this great luminous wake with which God has passed through history, we truly see that here is a force for good that survives through millennia. Here is truly light from light. Standards of conduct appropriate to civil society or the workings of a democracy cannot be purely and simply applied to the Church. This obedience to the voice of the earth is more important for our future happiness than the desires of the moment. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.